Alright, hello and welcome back to Torment Tides of Numenera. So, I was kind of glancing at the last episode and realized that, this might not be the most gripping video footage you've ever seen. It's basically dialogue. But I'm just having a blast playing this. I'm a sucker for good writing, it's phenomenal in this game, it's hitting all the right buttons in my world for sci-fi, so I don't know, this is phenomenal. Hope you're having fun too. So let's continue on our way.
Why not?
Ooh, what are you? This structure is embedded in the ground. It was clearly not made by the same people who built Circus Minor. It looks as though the device extends deeper into the ground below the road. Weathered runes are spread across the device's surface. What? I can't poke it? Ooh, changing god cultists. Okay.
Don't mind if I do.
Let's go see what these guys have to say. Oh, wow. Ooh, I'm gonna touch it. Of course. As you approach the clock, there is a pause in the argument the duo next to it are having. The petite woman turns towards you. Her hair is unusual, a light, almost yellow color, and her bright eyes dominate her pretty face. Excuse me, but my colleague and I were having a discussion and... Her eyes follow your tattoo, and her breath catches audibly in her throat. Mimion. Her partner is an unnaturally tall man, gaunt and sour-faced, his voice sonorous, with fingers that twitch and weave through strange contortions. Occasional light sparks in the air as he does that. He turns to you and opens his mouth to speak, registers your tattoo, and closes it again. His throat bobs for a moment, and he says, "It is an honor." Kalashcheese sighs. Must we indulge in this religious nonsense? Hey, your group has priests too, if I can remind you. Mimion says, "Your opinion of our beliefs is noticed. We have discussed the differences with you, and you have made your position quite clear, thank you." He turns back to you, anger etched on his face. He collects himself. If I might impose on your time for a moment. Will you tell me about your tattoo? How did you shape it? Do you know why it differs from the others? I don't know anything about it. You mean the other cast-offs? And what do you mean, shape it? I don't know much about my tattoo. What does it mean to you? Casmine says, "You have been touched by the changing god," she whispers. "His mind sheltered in you. He shared his dreams, his power with your mind. And when he left your body, he created you," she swallows. "The tattoo marks you, all of you, with his symbol. It grows and changes as you mature, so that it becomes your symbol instead. There are more of you. They call you cast-offs." She cocks her head, studying you. Mumin says, "You're welcome here, revered one. We stand ready to serve as we can. Have you any questions for you?" For us. Alright. So, let's start from the top. So who are you? Mimian considers your word before answering, a thoughtful pause. "I am Mimian. I am one of the leaders of the cult of the Changing God in Sagas Cliffs, and my primary duty is as chief archivist. My colleague is Casmine. She's responsible for the day-to-day administration of our encampment." So, what can you tell me about the city? "The city your sire built it and defended? The cradle of civilization? The center of the empire of knowledge?" His eyes rise, and his slow tone is effusive. "It is among the great works of humanity in the Ninth World. Built on the foundations laid by unknown creators, it has risen to become one of the most preeminent cities on Garavia Sound." Is that the name of the body of water, huh? He pauses. "It's somewhat diminished in these latter years, to be sure. Perhaps if the changing god were to return to lead us to glory..." Don't get any ideas looking at me, man. I've only been here about an hour. "So, do you know anything about the sorrow?" Casmine shudders and touches herself ritualistically on the forehead and on her lips. "A monster of deepest nightmare. I have heard that it wants you dead. Every one of the Holy One's creations, all dead. I don't know why, but it hates you." Wish people would stop calling me the Holy One. "So, what can you tell me about my sire?" "You mean the most accomplished inventor of our time? The hero of Sagas Cliffs? The man who dodged death himself? The Time Weaver? The man who destroyed the Tabat? Oh, we have much to say," she catches herself. "But perhaps we should wait for another time." The greatest inventor of all time, huh? Or of our time. Interesting. That sounds like me. "So, do you know anything about a device called a resonance chamber?" Mimian says, "Rumor and conjecture, nothing more. Idle speculation from those who wish to pretend to knowledge of your sire's motivation, passed along as fact." He leans out to touch you. "Have you seen it? Do you know where it is? What it does?" Again, I don't trust people enough to really pass out much in the way of information. I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't know anything about the resonance chamber, but I was told that you might. Mimian smiles slightly and spreads his hands in apology. Not as much as I should like, but we have ways to find answers. His eyes trawl your face, and it seems as if he is on the verge of understanding something. It is said by those loyal to your sire that the chamber is the solution to the sorrow, to the creature who hunts you all. Casmim says, we don't know how, though. She bows her head slightly. We take this as an article of faith. The resonance chamber will save you. Mimian looks sharply at you now, all distraction gone. I do not recognize you, he says. You do not match any descriptions we have recorded. Casmim snaps her fingers, as if she is finally figuring out a mystery. You're... wait, let me remember your face. She studies you carefully. You're... oh my, you're new! Are you the changing god? Can it be? She reaches out to touch your sleeve and pulls her hand back quickly. Nope, I'm not the changing god, sorry. Mimian nods, satisfied. As I thought, you are a cast-off, one of his children. He touches you with his long-fingered hand as if in consolation. There's no shame in such a thing. Many cast-offs have come to our attention, and some of them have thought to deceive us so they might seem more important. He smiles softly. If you are as new as we suspect, it might be better for you, for us, to know the truth of your existence than to bluster and lie. You know, I was told once upon a time that when someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. But in this situation, I don't really have a way to back that up. Casmim is crestfallen. She touches your shoulder. Are you sure you're not? She catches herself. No, why would you lie about that? With a noticeable effort, she wrenches herself into optimism as she chirps, But you're new, aren't you? You're new! Have you decided what you'll do? What you'll be? Your sire's other children have done amazing things, amazing, and no doubt you will as well. Mimian lays a hand on her shoulder, and his voice is low, cautionary. Kaz. She looks away from you for a moment, swallowing sudden tears, and he says, We have a request for you. Everyone does. Mimian gestures towards the clock behind him. Dark figures circumambulate these clock faces. I theorized that your sire's creation of the time, shields that protected the city, established a connection with his universe. Wow, I said that totally wrong. His creation of time shields. Okay. Given this, we believe these figures may be cast-offs, or ghosts of cast-offs perhaps, the living shells of the body your creator has worn previously. Okay. Mimian's fingers shrug eloquently for him. The clock is unmoored in time, you see. We do not have a knowledge sufficient to investigate, but you might. You have a connection with he who created the clock. You should be able to align it with the present time, and uncover who these figures are. A rare, gentle smile appears. If you cannot, at least you will increase our store of knowledge. Casmim smiles bravely, looking between Mimiam and you, and says, And then we can answer the questions you must have. Right, Mem? Okay, so do you have any ideas how to fix the clock? I could really use some guidance here. Mimian says, We have tried. I have appealed to the Order of Truth. I have spoken with eminent seekers of knowledge. We have sent for wisdom from as far away as the Steadfast. A great achievement, you must agree. None have given us an answer. We believe your sire created the device, or had a hand in it, perhaps. Dismay dances across his fingers. The Steadfast. Okay, new area. Casmim's hunger-eyed companion steps in. Perhaps you can find an answer where others have failed, and then we can help you. She turns her way. You will have our boundless gratitude, revered one. Stop calling me that! Okay, so let's take a look at our quest log here. So... Okay, so fall into Earth. Okay, so we have another step up on this. So find the clock, fix the clock, consult his miner, and investigate the figures that are trapped inside. Casmim and Mimian, the local leaders of the Changing God cult, may know something about the resonance chamber. In exchange for their knowledge, they've asked me to discover the identity of mysterious figures trapped inside the clock, a device crafted long ago by the Changing God. Complicating matters, the clock seems to be unmoored in time, so I won't be able to investigate the figures until I've realigned it with the present time. I wish people would stop saying things that sound cool, like unmoored in time, without giving me some context. So I just want to take a look at this thing. A clock, huh? I don't really understand what I'm looking at. It doesn't look like a clock, and I don't see any dark figures walking in circles around it. Which, by the way, is what circumambulance means. So, what are these things? Why can't I touch it? Yeah, same as the other one. Ooh, what's this? Embedded in the cliff wall is a massive structure that clearly predates the buildings that surround it. Super useful. Oh, look at their logo. Ah, for the changing god. Cool. Okay. So what can we poke at around here? What is this thing in the middle here? It's bugging me there's a device I can't even poke at. Okay, so let's take a look at this clock again. I want to know why they call it a clock. This complex machine towers over you. Its purpose is unclear, but the 3 circular faces set into the ground remind you of clocks. Something is wrong with the machine, however. It's partially transparent, shimmering in the air when you look directly at it. The clock faces seem to show different times at once. Humanoid silhouettes ripple beneath the central clock face. One places his hand against the face as though it were a glass wall. They seem to be watching you. Let's take a closer look. The towering mechanism wavers in the air. Similar to Castellige, it appears to be in several states at once, as though all of the machine's states are in the exact location. You can't touch it either. Your hand passes right through the structure. As you pull your hand away, a memory strikes you as powerfully as if someone took a club to your chest. You are working at the clock. It is no longer transparent, but perfectly solid. There is a noise behind you. So they've come, the 3 traitors. They think to surprise you, but through the powers of the clock you have foreseen this moment. Ooh. There is the faintest sound of metal sliding against leather. You slap a hand on the central clock face, activating the clock's arcane powers. You're not sure what will do to them, but it's better than what they'll do to you. There is a flash. Arcs of energy stretch out from the clock, over your shoulders to your would-be attackers. You don't see what happens to them, but they quickly disappear along with their screams. So this is also giving him a certain amount of precognition. Interesting. As the last shreds of the memory fade, a swirl of energy passes through your body. Cold barbs prick every muscle. Suddenly, tidal forces arc from the clock to 3 ancient devices in the cultist encampment. The clock recognized something inside you, or maybe vice versa. Either way, you have inadvertently activated the nearby devices.
I'll remember that.
Uh-oh. Things like this are rarely good. When I tried to interact with the clock, tidal forces erupted from my body and brought several nearby devices to life. They might provide a means to repair the clock. I'd like to take a look at this a little more carefully, though. Let's reach for the silhouetted figures. Nothing can go wrong with that. Your hand passes straight through the clock face, the figures, and the entire structure, as if the entire machine wasn't even there. Okay, so let's take a look at these things, but I feel like we're probably going to need to pass some effort checks, and my intelligence is back down to 0. As you approach the device, Circus Minor changes around you. People are dressed differently and speak differently. Whole new structures appear, including an enormous building rising from the edge of the square. You look down at the device. A series of images flit across its surface. They don't appear related to the changes around you. You see faces of people and places, all of them familiar. Let's look a little more carefully at the changes around me. This isn't helpful. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought this was the same. Circus Minor looks almost completely different. All the people are dressed strangely, and though they speak the truth, they use many terms and phrases you don't understand. Speak the truth! The square has changed as well. All of the tents are gone. The buildings are more colorful and less weathered. One building in particular rises from the edge of the square, a tower of purple rock some 50 stories tall. A mural is painted on the side, although you can't see the details from here. Okay, let's take a look at the images on the surface of this device. As soon as you focus on them, you feel a warmth on your head where your tattoo is. The images respond to your thoughts, slowing and changing at your whim. There's something about your body that allows you to do this, which perhaps means that only you can even see the images. You immediately recognize the pictures as pieces of memory, specifically the 3 memories you saw back in the fathoms of your mind. Let's take a look at the memory of the city under siege. This one I know about. Somehow you know this memory is ancient. It might have occurred 1,000 years ago. A man and a young girl race through the streets of Sagas Cliffs. All around them, the city is attacked by a terrible people, the Tabat, you recall. The man takes them to an ancient machine somewhere in the city, and he and the girl disappear. I wonder if that was the attack from very early on in the tutorial, more or less. The one with the axe and the one with the invisible sword. As you review the memory, you get a strange feeling in your mind that you can only describe as a query. The device wants something from you. Suddenly you remember. The memories in the device are possibilities, but you can lock one of the memories there so that is the only one it displays. You don't remember what the purpose was that served, though. Okay, let's take a look at the memory in the underwater city. This is the one where I was trying to steal the thing and the giant fish showed up to kill me. Well, I assume kill me. The memory is recent. 2 men, both with tattoos like your own, are in an underwater city searching for something. The denizens of the city chase them from their quarry and ultimately surround and capture them. 2 of us? Interesting. Okay, let's take a look at the memory in the lush valley. Somehow you know the memory is from a long time ago, centuries probably. A man and a woman, both with tattoos like your own, are surveying a lush, secluded valley for some purpose you cannot recall. Okay, so we know all 3 of these. So that was the one where we were looking to build a sanctuary. Okay, so this is the same thing. So, do I lock one? Each of these have different runes on their surfaces. Do they? They do. But I don't know if that means anything. Because they don't look like anything. I'd like to gather some more information before touching this. Let's just walk around a little bit and see kind of what else we have going on here. Okay, so for the first time, here's an exit. Does this say where? To the underbelly. Okay, yes. That was a place that we were perhaps cautioned against going, as perhaps containing slightly less than savory characters.
All right.
So let's take a look up here. Let's see what we've got going on. Small vandalist phrases are etched into the lower portion of these statues. Decorations of love, defamatory attacks, and announcements of localized existence whispering in stone from across the centuries. They're neat looking.
In this world, then.
Well, here we go. Don't underestimate the value of a good defense. Evasion helps you dodge attacks, while willpower can help you avoid esoteries. What I'd like to do is I'd like to find a place. The inn, I think. Okay. Well, here we are. Okay, so here's Government Square. Okay, let's take a look around. Ooh, what's going on up here? Interesting. Okay, we'll check them out in a moment here. Sanguine. Ooh, neat. Sanguine, a tall, thin, and exquisitely dressed older man, stands in the shade of an exquisitely crafted stall. The cut, color, and quality of his clothes are a symphony of harmonious coordination, while the expression of benevolent condescension he gives you would be more at home on the face of a king. Good afternoon, he says, bowing slightly. I am Sanguine, and this is my store, Sanguine's Fittings. Welcome. How may I be of service? So what do you sell here? Although I think I've already guessed. I sell the finest cityware for discerning men and women, as well as quality armor for those traveling to less civilized locales. He clears his throat and directs your attention to a well-dressed mannequin wearing the badge of a city official. Also, it is our honor to have been chosen to provide the city of Sagas Cliffs with the official badges worn by all properly credentialed city employees. You may trust in their trust in us. Yep, so we are going to get a badge from him. Can I buy an official city badge? City badges are not for sale to anyone. They are given to duly elected or appointed public servants of Sagas Cliffs, and it is illegal for me to give them to anyone who does not work for the city. I would be breaking the law. He considers, of course, most public servants do offer me some remuneration for the materials. But nope, I would not take the risk nor betray my trust. Tiburon Jacks, but you wouldn't be breaking the law. My friend here has just been made Undersecretary to oversee Yin. A messenger should be coming shortly with a letter of commission. But you know how Yin is. Always a bit sloppy with his paperwork. Okay, I don't think that I can pull off deception. Thank you, Tiber, but that's asking too much of this gentleman. Perhaps we could mitigate the risk to him. Sanguine purses his lips. I'm afraid I am unbribable, my friend, but if you were to purchase this pair of red boots for, say, 80 shins, it is possible that I might leave something of value in the left boot by accident. Well, unfortunately, I don't have it. Then I cannot sell you the boots. I'm afraid the price is firm. Okay, so we'll come back to you shortly here when we've got some cash. So, can you tell me about Government Square? Of course, sir. He puts a finger to his chin. Let me think. There's Council Tower just over there, and the Order of the Truth. And you can't forget the Red Thicket, that walled courtyard on the edge of the square. Or were you curious about our fountain here? Yeah, actually I am quite curious about your fountain. One of the stranger and more poignant attractions in the square. The creatures in it are called Jallies, and they chatter in 1,000 dead tongues. The priests say that a new Jalli is born each time an old language dies. He shakes his head. You could listen to them for a month and never hear the same language twice, or understand a single one. Interesting. So, I'm guessing this is the Red Thicket. What can you tell me about that? The Whispering Wood, I call it. A very curious and ancient place. You can speak as loudly as you like in there, and none but your partner can hear you. A great place for diplomacy. So the Order of Truth hang out here. What can you tell me about them? They are a credit to our city. Wise scholars and deep thinkers, he smiles. Excellent customers as well. They are very particular about their robes. Do we have anything else to chat about? So what can you tell me about the people who live in this district? I'm not one to gossip, sir. But if you insist, what would you like to know about?
As you wish.
Just want to get a better look at this fountain.
All right.
Oh, that thing is super cool. Okay, let's
Right.
poke at it. Because why not? The fountain is constructed of a material that seems halfway between wood and stone. It doesn't contain water as might be expected. Instead, it's filled with swarming, tiny fish-like creatures that leap and cavort in a wriggling mass, chattering to each other in what sounds like 1,000 different tongues. These are Jallies, nearly harmless creatures that are usually found in clouds above the sea. What they're doing in this fountain is an utter mystery. Can I catch one? You or a companion have an edge in your stat pools, granting you a discount on using points from that stat pool. Each level of edge grants one free level of effort, boosting your minimum chance of success. When using an ability, edge reduces the activation cost first, and any leftover points are used for effort. Okay. So I'm starting at 1 point for 55%. I don't want to use up my entire pool. Let's go 75%. Awesome. You deftly snatch a single fish from the glistening, tumbling flood. The bubbling mass of remaining creatures squawk together in nonsensical outrage. So I got a Jalli. You caught this creature from a fountain of sorts in Government Square. Small, fish-like, and constantly squirming, it never requires food or other nourishment, and it gibbers constantly in an indecipherable language. Hey, if this doesn't have a function, this could totally offset the price of our boots. Let's try to listen to what they're saying. You fold your arms, listening intently to the fish jabber at each other. It sounds like a cloud of nonsense syllables mashed into baby speak. Let's take a little more of a look at this woodstone fountain. The fountain, now that you're looking at it, is unfathomably old. Coppery, tongue-like decorations curl up and over the rim of the structure, as if lapping at the endless stream of creatures within. That's odd. Very odd. City officials, you're of no particular interest to me. I'd like to go take a look at this place. What is this? He sounds very quiet. This structure is made of a strange material that seems halfway between wood and stone. Alien symbols are drawn in red upon the walls. So we're seeing a lot of this stuff. So let's talk to the Hrefi ambassador first. You can't hear a thing I'm saying to my colleague here, can you? Oh, I can speak to you. A Yen who knows. This woman's expression defies easy definition. It is cool and professional, but focused, interested. She nods at you and clasps her hands. I haven't seen you in here before, she says. Her voice is oddly muted. Before we begin, you should understand where we are. She gestures to one of the plant-like structures nearby. This is the Red Thicket. No one can listen in on our conversation here. You can only hear me because I am speaking to you directly. In other words, no one will ever know what you tell me now in this place. She smiles very, very slightly. At any rate, have you come to trade? Trade what? Knowledge, I'll bet. I am a knowledge worker, she says. A hunter of information. Come to me with questions, and if I have answers, I will trade them. She straightens further and blinks once, managing to make the simple action look as though it was planned in advance. My pricing is simple. A secret for a secret. The only condition is that it must be one I do not know already, and I should warn you, I know a great deal. How do I know you won't claim to know a secret you've never heard before? A fair question. If she's offended, she doesn't show it. But I don't bother with assurances. You can either judge my honesty yourself, or take your business elsewhere. Okay, that's legit. So what's the catch? Well spotted, she says. There is one, of course, but it's hardly unexpected. Anything you choose to tell me will of course be traded to others in due time. A rare slight smile graces her lips. In short, if you wish to keep something a secret, don't tell it to me. Okay, so why don't you trade these secrets directly to the people involved? A number of reasons, she says, but chiefly this. I am a broker, not a blackmailer. So do we have anything? I'll trade you information for a secret you find interesting. Okay, let's propose something different. I'll trade you information for a secret you find interesting. Genuine pleasure warms her face. Agreed. What do you offer? I can tell you some secrets about myself. Would that serve? It might. What can you tell me? So I was the falling star that appeared in the sky over the city. Her gaze flickers from your face to your hair and then your hands. Interesting, she says, touching the air above her wrist. But far more interesting for you, I'd imagine, especially at the time. The side of her mouth quirks. Now for your interesting secret, she traces the corner of her lips thoughtfully. The merchants Felinda and Staresti are in love, and have been for many, many years. Felinda has never heard Staresti's voice. Okay, I'm going to write that down. And Staresti. Love, Felinda. Never heard her voice. That's interesting. Okay, let's come back. I don't want to get too carried away here talking to people. Oh, because they're talking, I can't speak to them. Not now, huh? Arathor Bren. This slim man looks to be in good shape, although his face remains hidden within his hood. He carries himself with confidence. His clothing exudes something like smoke that makes him look a bit like a ghost. Perhaps a man who can't be found if he doesn't want to be. Arathor Bren, he states. Pleasure. I'm a merc. Heard of the Nth Inspector Company? Head of the Nth Inspector Company. What brings you to the Red Thicket? Can you tell me about the Nth Inspector Company? We do infiltration mostly, he says, with a smoothness that implies he's given this speech before. Sabotage, assassinations, assorted hostile recovery. Sometimes the city hires us to handle local threats, problematic tribes, roaming predators, you name it. He chuckles. Pretty quiet these days. Not like when we got started. Our first big job was a series of assaults in the Endless Battle. Okay, good. What is the Endless Battle? It's the second time I've heard of this. Really? He says, cocking an eyebrow. All right. It's basically like it sounds. A fight that's given people like me a solid payday for more generations than anyone could count. He shrugs. As far as I heard, it's a scrap between rival factions of the Changing Gods cast-offs. What about? I couldn't tell you. He cracks a grin. Getting interested in the why of war always ends up being bad for business. Understandable. So, I have factions? How many of me are there? So, what did you do in the Endless Battle? Can't say, he says automatically. Contracts, you understand. All I can tell you is that the Chalcidian? I'm going with Chalcedon pays on time, and that's more than I can say for some of the employers I've had over the years. He sighs. Well, one of the best jobs you've ever had. What is the Chalcedon? Oh, one of the commanders on the Changing Gods side, he says. Pays well and on time, and that's the extent of my opinion on the matter. Now my turn for questions. It's not just the tattoo that gives you away. I know you, don't I? From where? We fight together? Fight each other? What is it? His hand drops to a pocket near his hip. Tell the truth, Null. I'll know if you're lying. Let's try to remember. I don't have the points to remember. Let's give it a 50-50 shot. Okay, you fully depleted one of your stat pools. To recover your stat pools, you can find a place to sleep or use consumable items and ciphers. I fail. You stare at the man's features, a memory slipping in and out of focus through your mind. Eventually it fades, leaving you with nothing. Well, Arathor says, are you going to tell me how we know each other? I'm sorry, I have no idea. Arathor stares you down. Something tickles the back of your mind. This is miserable, he says, scratching his head. I'm going to be running your face through my head all day. So, what are you guys doing in Sagus? Negotiations, he says shortly. I'm between meetings with a few council representatives. They may want us for some, ongoing work, he shows his teeth. Bit of a bidding war going on right now, to be honest. We're in high demand. Alright, farewell. I will come back if I can figure out where we know each other. Okay, it is time for me to find an inn. So, before I sleep with... before I speak to anyone else, let's check out some of these other areas. Spending effort and attack? Yes. Increases damage. Oh, wow! What is that thing? And I want one. Looks like the travel pods from Dragon Ball Z. Okay, so here we're in the Caravanserai, and if I remember correctly, this is where we could find an inn. But I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back in a little bit. Thanks for watching.